My name is Reese, and welcome to the Mont watercolour half pan set unboxing. There's 24 colours in this set, and it's not too bad. We found it for under $30 at our local discount store. It sells all the Mont art materials and things. But yeah, this is it. This is the box. Pretty plain. I like the size. And it has this little ring thing on the bottom to put your finger through, which helps you hold it, I guess, if you're intending on painting whilst holding it in your hand. I guess if you're out on a bus or out and about somewhere. It's a bit flimsy. You'll see later on that I actually managed to pull it off, and we fix it up, but just seems a little bit flimsy. I think that they could have redesigned that, made it stronger. It has these trays inside which double, don't double as anything, but you can use them as trays. They plug in pretty nicely on the sides here, and they're fairly sturdy actually, how they feel. Each one of these little paint trays can be removed, which is probably good for cleaning if you do spill some water in through the back. We're hoping that they're also replaceable, but we don't know yet. The little sponge that comes with it is adequate, but we're going to replace it with something, maybe cut up a bit of a kitchen sponge, something a little bit larger to fit in that bottom area. The water tray is ceramic as well, and then it comes with the water-filled paintbrush as well. Pretty standard. We did find that it would have been nicer to have a fine tipped brush in there also, or maybe some replaceable sort of nibs so that we could use the same brush with multiple nibs or paint ends. I'm not sure what they're called. So yeah, we're hoping that we can get replacement paint trays, but if not, that maybe we can find other paints that'll fit in there as well. But for that under $30 price point, it was actually it seems pretty good so far. We did want to see if we could rest the trays beside this and if it would sit level and all that sort of stuff. Those side trays don't, unless you've got them plugged in. But I did notice that they sit level when sitting in the actual lid. But the lid can be used also as a mixing tray, so I don't see why you'd ever do that, to be honest. So there is that hole that you just saw in the bottom of the tray. So if you're getting like splashing water around a lot, you can leak through. Although it didn't leak for us, so I don't think it's actually too big a problem. Yeah, that little plastic loop down the bottom for your finger is really actually quite flimsy. I think if the tray was made from metal, then it would work out really well. But in this case, it works, but don't trust it. As you can see, without having the side trays in there, all the paint sort of moved around a bit, but they stayed where they needed to be, so it wasn't a problem. I've added some water into the tray and also water into the paint brush, and we've cut some watercolor paint and stuck it in the lid there, watercolor paper, and put it in the lid to use it. I think this is how we would use it painting if we were out and about. I'm a novice at this whole watercolor painting thing, so I've just gone with adding some blotches of color to see what it looks like. So I'll speed this up and you can see me testing out each colour, and you can see the pigment. Some are really good with the pigment, but some paints, especially when we get to the greens, sort of struggled a little bit. So yeah, using the paper like we did in the lid, I think we're going to do that more often. Cut up some watercolour paper and put a whole stack in there. We found it more useful using the lid to hold the paper than we did actually using the lid as a mixing tray. This green was a little bit funny. I don't know if it was how I was using the watercolour paint, but it just didn't come out as vivid as I was expecting. Overall though, the paints are pretty good. I really like the reds and the pink. But yeah, they did what I expect watercolour paints should do. I'm sure that you could spend a whole lot more and get a lot more out of it. So I decided to try holding the tray at this point to see how it feels painting with it in my hand. Yeah, straight away I realised I had to take off that right hand side mixing tray because it just felt like it was in the way. I guess I could probably hold the container differently. But yeah. Also fiddling around with the little loop down the bottom there, I ended up pulling it out, and that was a bit of a pain. That's when I realised how flimsy it was, so I moved to just holding it without even bothering with that loop. And it felt pretty comfortable actually. So I don't think it's really that necessary. So I added the mixing tray on top of some of the colours, and I thought if I was going to use this tray, this whole paint set, I would put my most common colours on one side, the colours I like to use the most, and then rare colours on the other side, on the right hand side, so that I could put the mixing tray on the top of it to protect the paints. But it just feels like it would be more comfortable, and the tray would be right in front of the actual paint, the paper. But it's sort of good that you can put the trays facing out and also facing in and use them. I think that the main benefit is the fact that you have a place to rest your hand with that tray there. So if you were having to do fine details and stuff, you wouldn't be resting your hand on the actual paint palettes. All in all, the colours are pretty good. I was impressed. I don't do much watercolour painting, but I was pretty happy. I was definitely I'm gonna be using this. Tried putting a red on top of an orange to see how that looked, and I think, yeah, I did a black on top of that's like a dark green colour. You can see that you can use the trays as mixing trays as well, quite effectively, and I think this would work just as well on the side palette, the side tray things. It's probably worth mentioning the paints seem to mix okay. So yeah, all in all, we are pretty happy with this. For under $30 to have 24 different watercolor paint options in quite a handy size. We love the size of it, and it's super portable paint pan. I think it's really good.